The Sentinel secluded himself in research for the next few days after the attack. He thought about dropping Vax back at her apartment, but he felt that even with the imminent threat, that she'd be safer with him. The entire world was on high alert. Every army was standing at the ready. Vax flinched as a knock echoed at the front door of the lab. She raised a brow at it. The lab was far from the main roads, far from the city. Who made their way out to visit without warning? Sentinel? Someone's at the door, Vax yelled from across the hall. The Sentinel stood cautiously. He made his way to the door, and Vax stood out of his way. He opened the door and quickly slammed it shut before the visitor could say hello. That was rude, a voice said, muffled, through the door. The Sentinel slammed his back against the door and looked at Vax, mystified. Vax held out her arms and shook her head. She had no idea what could cause him, of all people, to be nervous. It was me? The Sentinel spoke in an unsure tone. What was? Come on, two, open up, the voice sounded through the door, followed by a few knocks. Two? The Sentinel asked after some hesitation. He cracked the door open. Oh, wait, we haven't met yet, have we? The man opened the door all the way, extending his arm for a handshake. I'm you, the Sentinel. Call me One. It'll be easier. It was the Sentinel, his first incarnation. He recognized his face, young, innocent, unaware. You're me. Before... How are you here? This doesn't make any sense. I should remember this. But you don't. One interrupted the Sentinel. But you do remember that you went missing for 5 years. Years that you can't remember. I do. I'm living those years. You're the part of me I've forgotten? The Sentinel spoke softly, trying to stay calm and collected, trying to understand what exactly was happening. And for good reason, too. One looked down at the ground. I know everything. The memory lost at the end of this was intentional. Vax stared in disbelief, darting her eyes between the two Sentinels. What do you mean, everything? I know about Matrona. One finished, quickly too, to disallow further conversation about his tragic future. A silence filled the room. One let himself in and walked past Vax. He plopped himself down on the couch, feeling the cushions. Anyway, I'm here for a reason. Some of my knowledge could be helpful to you at moments when you desperately need it. I can't give you everything, but I can give you what I can to help. Wait, Vax interrupted. Am I the only one here who is in any way confused? At all? Vax, this man here is my past life. The first Sentinel. But how is he here? Time travel. One tossed his box up and caught it. Tricky thing, time travel. Delicate. One looked down at his box for a moment, then shook his head. I can help you with your current problem. With the attack? Yeah, I can point you in the right direction. You need to go to Mars. Mars? Vax laughed. What does Mars have anything to do with anything? She's right, there's no intelligent life on Mars, it's harmless, the Sentinel said in a questioning tone. He stared at One, scrutinizing him, trying to authenticate him. I can tell paranoia has taken you hostage, Sentinel. A voice echoed from the hall. The Sentinel extended his gauntlet and lit his flames. One stayed calm, and Vax was caught off guard and didn't know how to react. The Paradox Master made his way into the living room from the hallway. See? You're proving my point, he laughed, and bit into an apple he happened to be holding. See, that's why I knocked, One said. I hate it when you do that. The Paradox Master continued. There is no intelligent life on Mars, at least natively. There's a secret base of operations there that we need to infiltrate. Why are you here? The Sentinel lowered his gauntlet. Who are you? And don't give me some bullshit answer this time. What is going on? Vax stepped back, assessing the situation. He's a good friend, One said, standing from the couch. How? Seriously, what did I forget in those 5 years? How much could I possibly miss? It doesn't matter right now. We need to get going. The Paradox Master tossed the apple into a trash can and held out his arm. The Sentinel reluctantly placed his hand on the Paradox Master's arm. One and Vax held their hands to his shoulders. They flashed away to the surface of Mars and were greeted with 2 other people that the Sentinel recognized as well. He didn't like that he did either. Wait, he stared down a man in a trench coat with blonde hair. His sleeves were stained with blood and his jeans covered in black dust. I know you. He turned next to him. And you. He looked at a man with scornful red eyes wearing a black suit. You were there too. AJ, the blonde man introduced himself, holding out his hand. Nice to meet you. The Sentinel shook his hand. He turned his attention to the man in the suit. And you are? None of your business. Okay then, so the 6 of us sitting alone on Mars in the midst of an imminent war and we're doing nothing. Right, now what? Now we blow up Mars. AJ laughed. What else? Whoa, that's not something you just do. Vax shook her hands in front of her defensively. Why would we do that? Vax, he's kidding. The Sentinel assured her. No, I'm being completely serious. AJ spoke in a more serious tone than he had been. We're blowing up Mars. I didn't agree to this. The Sentinel glared at the Paradox Master angrily. I mean, sure, if you want Mars to crash into Earth, that's your prerogative, I don't care. Although I'm just gonna assume that's not what you want. One laughed. What do you mean, crash into Earth? We're way too far apart for that, the Sentinel yelled. The Paradox Master explained to the Sentinel and Vax. Something otherworldly is happening here on Mars. Hidden under this planet's core are 5 separate nuclear-powered teleporters. They're designed to transport the planet to Earth and then blow up using what energy it has left. Who would even do that? Vax seemed concerned. I mean, even the Gars wouldn't do that. They want to take the world from us. And the Terrors are teamed up with them, so that doesn't leave many options. The universe is full of ill-intentioned beings. Just because you don't know they exist doesn't mean they don't. The man in the suit spoke, trying to avoid eye contact with the Sentinel. There's gotta be another way to disable the teleporters other than exploding them. That just seems irresponsible. The Sentinel protested. If we only disable them, they could easily be re-enabled. The Paradox Master took off his jacket and lit his arms aflame. Trust me, we've thought of everything. He slammed his fist into the red-orange dirt and began forcing the plasma deeper into its core. We need to split up, and these all need to go off at the same time. If they don't, some of us might not make it out in time. This one's the deepest. One will hand you each of the coordinates for the others. Dig as quickly as possible and leave as soon as you hear the connection with the machine. One handed the Sentinel a paper with coordinates. The Sentinel and Vax flashed away. The Sentinel instantly extended his gauntlet and pushed it into the ground. Sentinel, what if this doesn't work? Vax asked. Trust me. The Sentinel pushed further into the dirt as the flame snaked up his arm. It's not you. I don't trust the others. Vax paid close attention to the Sentinel's digging. She looked up for a split second out of curiosity. Sentinel, watch out! The Sentinel glanced upwards, still keeping his gauntlet in the ground, his flames creeping their way to the machine below. He noticed the man in the suit, standing a fair distance away from him. He squinted and saw a gun. He quickly outstretched his free arm and shot a beam of plasma towards him. The man in the suit outstretched his arm, forming a hollow shield in front of him. The man shot towards Vax. Vax, the box! The Sentinel yelled, struggling to keep his progress digging into the planet's crust going, while also fending off the suited man. Vax picked up the box and slammed it into the ground, forming the dome shield around them. The Sentinel lowered his arm. He frantically tried to make a decision. Stop mining into the planet and fight back, or keep the progress going. AJ appeared next to him under the dome. He began digging too. Quick, Sentinel, fight back, I got this. AJ, what about your dig site? You'll die. Sentinel, it's fine, save yourself, and the girl. AJ focused all of his energy with both arms forced into the ground below. The Sentinel left the comfort of the dome after some reluctance. He lifted his gauntlet-clad arm and began firing at the suited man with both hands. He walked closer to the man, who was struggling to keep his shield up in front of him. When the Sentinel was mere inches away from the man, he prepared for a devastating blow. Instead, the man knocked the Sentinel to the ground with his shield. The man lifted his gun. Who are you? The Sentinel put up his arm defensively. None of your business. Sentinel! AJ yelled as he shot a small capsule of crystal plasma like a bullet directly into the suited man's shoulder. The man flinched, holding his hand to the wound, and then vanished. Vax ran up to the Sentinel with the box. Leave! The planet's gonna blow! AJ yelled. What about you? Vax yelled back. Leave! The Sentinel wrapped his arm around Vax. In a mere second, they watched as the crust below AJ burst. Bright orange flames engulfed him, and in a flash of light, the Sentinel and Vax were in the lab. No! Vax put her arms out, screaming. She fell to the floor, feeling the tiles beneath her. He's dead! The Sentinel sat silent on the floor. After a few seconds, Vax recognized the look on his face. Vax? He managed to speak, despite the shock. We were so close. We almost died. I saw the flames. Why did he save us? Who was he? Vax, he was there, both of them. When I became the Sentinel, they were all there. Vax stood from the ground and walked to the door. She looked up at the night sky. Not a star in sight, the city lights drowned the sky of its beauty. The Paradox Master, she whispered to herself. The Sentinel stood behind her, staring up at the empty sky. It all happened so quick. We just went to Mars, and then... Those 5 years are going to haunt me forever. What do you mean? One wasn't helping us. We were helping him. The Paradox Master is behind this. He isn't done with us. I got another message from Quinn. The Sentinel spoke these words as his first greeting to Vax the next morning. He put on his hoodie and grabbed his box. He was ready to go. Was it about the attack or Mars? Mars. Apparently blowing up an entire planet isn't seen as entirely heroic. You're not leaving without me, are you? The Sentinel hesitated at first, then smiled. Of course not. He held out his hand. Vax stood from the couch. She approached the Sentinel and held his hand, and they flashed away, appearing in the Oval Office. Quinn sat in the president's chair. Where's the vice? I'm the president now. Quinn stared down the Sentinel with a stern look on her face. We need to talk. Wow, okay, so I know this looks bad, but no excuses. Sentinel, this is bad. You'd better have a really good explanation for this. Quinn stood from her chair. Someone's here to speak with you about this. I have more pressing matters to deal with. Quinn left the room, greeting a woman as she walked in. The Sentinel stood straight. He recognized the face. You've changed since the last time we met, Sentinel. The woman laughed. How are you here? You're the astronaut, aren't you? Yeah. Time travel isn't really exclusive to you, Sentinel. The astronaut sat down in Quinn's chair. Don't act like saving my life from a T-Rex is going to give me any bias in your favor. The astronaut turned her attention to Vax. Her eyes widened. You're Vax, right? Yes? Vax's face contorted in a twist. Why? The astronaut shook her head. Never mind. She placed her face in her hands. Look, Sentinel, I know what happened. I'm assuming you have questions. The Sentinel perked up. Can you answer any of them? I have so many. I need to show you something. The astronaut stood up and made her way to the Sentinel. She gestured toward his box. He handed it to her, and all three of them were off in a flash. They all appeared in the astronaut's ship. The Sentinel looked around. New ship? No, actually. I managed to go back and salvage the wrecked one. A lot of it is new, but it's still the good old Riptide deep down. Who is this guy? The Sentinel noticed a man sitting in the co-pilot seat. His hair was bright white, with hints of gray. The man turned around, and the Sentinel was overtaken by a sudden feeling of déjà vu. The man's scornful eyes stared him down. His face was long and thin. His hair was a mess. Do I know you? The man stood from his seat and held out his hand for a handshake. The name's Foxtrot. You haven't met him yet. Interesting. He's my co-pilot, the astronaut explained. He's from the Andromeda galaxy. Humans from another galaxy? The Sentinel asked. That's what I brought you here for. You see, Foxtrot explained, long before most humans of Earth had even invented society, a group left through a rift in space-time and settled in the Andromeda galaxy. The Andromedans. At least that's how the legends go. We aren't so sure of the accuracy, but we definitely came from Earth. So what's the deal? Why bring us here? Vax asked, wondering about the story's relevance. The Andromedans, they've changed. The astronaut looked out the nearby windows at a massive blue-green gas planet. A ring surrounded it, like Saturn, but it intersected another second ring, like the orbits of an atom. Foxtrot continued, the Milky Way isn't an origin story left to the legends anymore. The Andromedans set up the Mars Project to destroy Earth. They would prefer not to fight Wayan humans or be involved in any of their wars. They've been imposing their laws in the entire galaxy, and now they're spreading their rule to your galaxy. Well, who gives them the right to do that? Vax scoffed. They did, Foxtrot answered bluntly. They came from it. Technically, they do have first claim. Vax looked out of the window of the Riptide, and she noticed something in the distance. Am I the only one seeing those ships out there? She asked the astronaut with a hint of worry in her voice. What? The astronaut yelled. No, not now. How can I be so stupid? I should have remembered. The astronaut ran to the cockpit. What is it? The Sentinel stood frantically. Hide, Foxtrot demanded of the Sentinel and Vax. The Sentinel grabbed Vax by the arm and they ran off down a hallway. Vax pointed toward a loose panel on the floor. The Sentinel beamed it with a weak plasma burst, knocking it loose. Vax crawled into the small space. There's no room for me, Vax. Stay calm. Sentinel! The Sentinel turned and pressed his finger against his lips, shushing her. The ship shook with the impact of the Andromedan ship. The Sentinel looked around for anywhere to hide. An airlock behind him opened, and the ship boarded. Andromedan guards tossed dark gray chains onto the Sentinel. He attempted to blast the chains off of him, but the most he could muster was a small flame fit for a candle. He fell onto the panel that Vax was under. Vax helplessly held her hands over her mouth. The astronaut and Foxtrot ran to the Sentinel's side, armed with alien rifles. Before they could do anything, they were shot to the ground. There they fell, paralyzed. The Andromedans picked up the Sentinel and boarded him onto their ship. They disconnected and flew away. A few seconds passed, and Vax burst from underneath the panel. She crawled over to the astronaut and Foxtrot. He's gone, the astronaut stammered. I'm sorry. Vax ran to the airlock, screaming, No! She banged her fist against the window. She lowered her head, and tears dropped off from her cheek. I'm alone. The astronaut frowned. She looked at Foxtrot, lost. He'll come back. He has to, Foxtrot assured Vax.